National Symphony Orchestra. It was a major part of your life for a long time. You resigned February 12th, like literally in a minute after, in the propaganda that they were trying to, the propaganda they're trying to spew by controlling the arts.
Well, and you could help me with this too, because, you know, I'm a musician that's not used to messaging who gets to speak and who doesn't get to speak at our greatest arts institution, the Kennedy Center. That's a real problem. The thing I have a hard time explaining to people is,
did the Trump administration ruin the Kennedy Center? A bold resignation, political meddling, and a July 4th musical rebellion might just have the answer. Find out why Ben Folds walked away and how he turned his exit into a powerful act of defiance. Trust me, this is a story you didn't see coming. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now back to the video. When Ben Folds joined the Kennedy Center as an artistic advisor, it seemed like a perfect match. He brought years of experience as a celebrated musician and a passion for supporting arts education.
not many people have the prerequisite knowledge for it. So maybe you could help me out with that a little bit. I mean, there was why I resigned. And then there's kind of another question that I think people want to answer, which is why not stay?
The Trump regime announced it was taking over the Kennedy Center, and it was going to take over all aspect of the arts. They were going to dominate it. I want you to talk through that decision, but
I know I did the right thing.
Well, here's my thought. Here's my thought is that you don't want to be used as a puppet for the regime. And they're going to use someone like you with your distinguished career, and they're going to say, look.
The Kennedy Center wasn't just any cultural institution. It was, and still is, considered a symbol of artistic excellence in America. For Folds, this role was an opportunity to champion creativity and provide a voice for artists. But things took a sharp turn when the Trump administration decided to expand its influence into the arts. Under Trump, the Kennedy Center became less about fostering creativity and more about political optics. The administration began stacking the deck, pushing political allies into roles that had traditionally been filled by experts in the cultural field. Trump himself was named honorary chairman, not a shock since honorary roles are typically ceremonial, but this one came with a side of brand promotion. Meetings shifted. Instead of brainstorming how to enrich the arts, there was talk about quotas and aligning with the administration's agenda. Slowly but surely, the Kennedy Center was looking less like a celebration of art and more like a box set of Trump's greatest hits. Then came February 12th. Ben Folds walked away, not quietly, but with a clear and pointed message. In his resignation, he said he wasn't interested in being a puppet or in supporting an organization that's being used as one. That line hit harder than Trump skipping his vegetables. Folds refused to let the Kennedy Center be reduced to a promotional tool for the administration's image. Instead, he chose to stand for what really mattered: artistic freedom and integrity. History has shown why decisions like Folds are so important. Think of Nazi Germany, where art became propaganda overnight, or Soviet-era culture, where every painting, every song was a message controlled by the government. Folds saw how dangerous it was to let politics hijack creativity. By leaving the Kennedy Center, he reminded people why protecting independent arts matters in a democracy. And the best part? His resignation was just the opening act. Ben Folds could have taken his resignation as his final word, but instead, he chose to hit back where it hurt, through music.
I played and did panels at the Republican National Convention in 2016, as well as the Democratic. And I feel like I know a lot about this, sort of the civics of this and the difference between the private sector and the public sector. Once the board was gone, installed loyalist, the loyalist came in and voted in Guess who? Trump to be the chairman, the head of the Kennedy Center.
Ben Folds supports me. Take a look and what Trump does, and you see this. He brings the Juventus soccer team, an Italian football club, to be behind him as he's talking about potential war with Iran.
On July 4th, Independence Day of all days, he released his album Ben Folds Live with the National Symphony Orchestra. Think about the irony. July 4th, a day all about freedom, became the stage for Folds to reclaim creative independence, free from the politics that had tainted the Kennedy Center. This wasn't just an album, it was a message wrapped in melodies. Art doesn't belong to politicians, no matter how much they puff up their egos. Recording this album came with its own headaches. Folds produced and funded it independently, which may sound glamorous but really meant living off a diet of risk and stress. At a time when support for the arts was in freefall and political interference loomed over every corner, making an album free from outside influence was a bold move. Yet, that was the point. By keeping it clean of Trump's taint, Folds ensured the Kennedy Center's original legacy could shine through, even if its current leadership couldn't. The music itself wasn't loud with its politics. It didn't scream. It whispered in ways that packed more punch. One track captured the absurdity of the news cycle, a roller coaster of chaos the Trump era seemed to perfect. The humor was sharp, the undertones undeniable. It was Folds' way of letting audiences laugh while still thinking, a mix that made the album feel all too relatable for anyone living through those head-spinning years. The response? Critics and fans embraced it like a breath of fresh air. Reviews celebrated the album as a reminder of what art could be, sharp, meaningful, and just the right amount of uncomfortable. Somehow, the album resonated all the more because it had to fight to exist. Even the National Symphony Orchestra saw a revival in its morale, proving the album wasn't just symbolic. It helped lift the spirits of an institution directly caught in the political mess. And yet, Folds didn't just make music. He made people ask bigger questions. What does it take to protect creativity in a world determined to compromise it? Art isn't just about pretty pictures or catchy tunes. It's a way to fight back. Ben Folds didn't just quit his fancy Kennedy Center position. He stood up to the political meddling threatening its soul. His story isn't about one resignation. It's about showing how even one voice, armed with integrity, can push back against power. As Folds himself said, "Be a freak. Take a stand on something." So, what now? Support independent artists, lift up cultural institutions, and pay attention. Because if art can challenge authority, ask yourself this: what could you do when the world gets overrun with puppets?